WebDriver is equal to new class 5 Firefox driver. So the problem arises, it says that this is a duplicate variable. So I don't understand like how to, you know, um, do that
Just post
properly.
your code on the forum once, the code which you have written.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, maybe you're doing some mistake. I'll check it out.
Actually, that is the okay. I'll actually describe in the form then. I'll do that. I can do that.
Okay, just put it in the forum once.
Okay.
Okay, let me check it out. Right.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Uh, All right, fine. So, TestNG, what is TestNG used for? TestNG is used for building test cases. Okay, the first thing is that you need to understand how to install TestNG as a plugin. So, just go to Google and type TestNG Eclipse. You have to install TestNG as a plugin inside Eclipse. Okay, go to the first link, fine, and you will see over here installation. Follow the instructions to install the plugin. Click on this link, right? And you can, in Eclipse, you can add it as a plugin. Fine. Now, uh, copy this link. Fine. Hold on. Copy this. Go to Eclipse. Go to Help. Install new software. And from here, you can install TestNG. Paste the URL. Hit the enter button, and all the properties of TestNG will be loaded. In the end, oh, okay, maybe this site is down right now, right? So in the end, you'll be seeing TestNG written over here. Sometimes the site is down, okay. Or you can use, instead of using the beta version, you can use the normal version as well and give it a try. It takes a little while. TestNG comes up. Just select the checkbox for TestNG. Click on next, 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 and it will be installed as a plugin. Your Eclipse will also restart. You can check the installation from Windows and show view and other. Under Java, you will be seeing testing. Okay, right? So you can go to File, New, Java project. I'll call it day 14 underscore testng. All right. Now, testng helps you to build test cases. All right. I'll create a new package known as test cases, and inside this package I'll create few Java files. For example, I'll create a new class known as say by mobile phone test. Okay, generally we keep the Java files inside packages and we give the packages some meaningful name to organize the files. Okay, it depends on project to project. Okay, now now uh, we'll build the test case like this at the rate test. public void say search mobile. This @test means an annotation. Alright, you have to import it. You move the mouse over it, you'll see the option add Testng library. If you click on this, Testng will be added as a library inside the project. Okay, then you move the mouse again and you will be able to import the test annotation. Import statement will come. The error will go away. So this function becomes your test case. Okay, you can print inside it. Searching mobile. And when you run this, it will simply run it as a testng test. You can right click on the Java file and you will see the option after right clicking, run as testng test. You just run it and you'll get the output like this. Total test runs, failures are 0, skips are 0. There is no main function in testng. You just have the test annotations which are executed. Okay, and you can have different test cases in a single Java file. You can write @test, say public void select mobile and a test case like @test checkout. Fine. So you can have these three test cases, right? You can print over here checkout. And when you run this code, see that it's printing total test cases are 3 and it is printing the stuff. But the order checkout is being printed first, then search mobile, and so and then select the mobile. So order is not the same. Don't assume that the test will be executed in a serial order from top to bottom. That doesn't happen. You have to prioritize the test cases. You have to write over here that like this. There are many parameters, like you can take the priority parameter. Priority equals to 1 and priority equals to 2. Priority equals to 3. Right. You can prioritize your test cases. And when you run this, it prints searching mobile, select mobile, and checkout. So it runs in a certain order from top to bottom. Right. Okay, you have to prioritize the test cases. Now, when you run this, it also gives you a result panel over here. Okay, in which you can see the results in a graphical format. Okay, that these are the 3 tests, all 3 of them are passing. And if you refresh the project, this is your project. If you refresh the project, you will see the test output folder, inside which you will be able to see index.html. This represents HTML reports. Default HTML reports are generated by Testng. These are the three functions, but these reports are not so effective. All right. To generate effective reports, you have to use extend reports, which I will be talking about later on. These are not very good reports, the default Testng reports. And every time you run, new reports are generated and the older ones are replaced. Okay, right. So these are the three test annotation functions we just created. Now, over here, all the tests are passing. But what if I have a scenario in which I have to fail a test case? Okay, for example, let's take about this test case, search mobile. Whenever we do testing, we have two types of values. One is expected value and one is the actual value. And both of them have to be compared, obviously, right, to generate a result. Fine. So we have the assertions. There is a assert class inside Testng which helps you to uh, compare actual and expected values. Fine, you can write assert dot. You'll get a lot of options. One of them is assert equals. Fine, you can import assert from org.testng.assert. Make sure that you import it from Testng. Sometimes people also import it from JUnit or something. Right. So you can specify the actual and expected. Okay, if I specify actual as say A and expected also A. So both of them are equal. So this test is going to pass when I run the code. Right. Total test runs are 3. Failures are 0. However, if I change my expected value to A1 and both of them don't match, now you will see that one failure will come up. Okay. And in the results of running the test, you will see this in different color and you'll see that failure exception. Expected A1, the expected value was A1, but A was found. Right. So with this assert.assert equals, you can compare two values or fail the test case. Now, there is one more function like assert dot assert true, in which we give a condition over here. This condition evaluates to true or false. Okay, if it evaluates to true, then the test passes. Okay, if it evaluates to false, then it fails, and whatever error message you write over here will be displayed in the reports. Okay, so if this condition should evaluate to false, for example, if I write 3 greater than 2, 3 greater than 2 is true. So when you run this, it passes all the tests. But if I write 3 greater than 12 and I run this, it will fail it because 3 greater than 12 is false. You get one failure. And in the results, see some error is mentioned over here. Okay. So whatever error message you give will come up in case the assertion fails. Now you can give condition like this, like we had made a function like in Selenium, we had made a function is element present. So this will check the presence of the element. Remember, right? Something like this. If the element is not present, if this function returns you false, then you can throw the error that object not found and something like that. Right. So assert or dot assert equals can compare two things. Assert dot assert true is used in case of some condition. Like I took the condition is element present. Sometimes you are quite sure that the test is failing. You are at a location in the program, at a point in the program where things don't appear good. For example, you click on the link, but say you get 404 error, page not found. So you are very sure that the test is failing. So you can deliberately fail the test by writing assert dot fail. Okay, or you can give some failure message while failing, which will appear in the reports. Fine, if I run this, it will print some failure message. Okay, right? You got my point? Fine, so yeah, obviously you have to, if you want to pass, do the validations, right? You need to, you need to use these assertions, right? That's what testing is about. Fine. Now, if the test is failing, this particular test is failing, search mobile, then select mobile and checkout should not be executing because obviously you cannot select a mobile or checkout in case this particular test is failing, right? So if I'm running this, it will tell you that failures are one. Uh, hold on, it's only running. Yeah, you see that these two tests are passing. It tells you runs are 3, but failures are 1. So other two tests are passing, but this is not acceptable because search mobile and checkout are dependent on select mobile and checkout are dependent on search mobile. Right. So you need to make the dependency between the test cases over here. That if this test case fails, then these two should not be executing. So you put a comma over here and give the command depends on methods. Okay. And you give an array. For example, select mobile is dependent on search mobile, comma. Okay. So you write like this. And this function checkout is dependent on, hold on, search mobile as well as select mobile. Okay, right. So this is dependent on these two. Right. So when you run this code, now it says that total runs are 3, failures are 1, but skips are 2. It is skipping the other two tests automatically. Okay, you see that? These two tests, they execute. They don't execute. They are skipping since this test case is failing. However, if this test case doesn't fail and it runs, all three will run. Right. Now, sometimes when you are running the test cases, say you are running 100 tests and you don't want to run 100 of them, you want to run, say, 50 test cases. Right. In that case, you have to skip some of the test cases. Right. So you can skip tests by simply giving a command throw new skip exception. Okay. You can simply write just, yeah. You can simply write that skipping the test, anything. Okay. So this will actually skip the test case. And when you run this, it will say it will skip the search mobile. Because search mobile is skipped, the other two dependent tests are not executed. Okay. So this is important, and generally we keep the information in the Excel file that which test case has to be skipped. Okay, so this information that whether to throw the skip exception will be on the condition coming from the Excel file. We'll see that later on. I'm just giving you an idea. Okay, right. So this is how you build tests. This is how you introduce dependencies, priorities. You can actually go and put some assertions and do the validations. Fine. Now there are some other annotation function in Testng apart from at the rate test. Okay. For example, there is an annotation known as at the rate before test. Okay. And I'll just make a function before test. Right. And inside it, I will write over here before test. And then you can have annotation at the rate after test. Now, what these annotations they do? Okay, what do these annotations do? Before test and after test annotations, what do they do? When you run this, you will see that before test will hold on. I will skip this and run it. So before test will be running before running all the tests, and after test will be executed after running all the tests. Okay, before test is You can say it is, suppose you have to open a browser before starting a test case, and then perform the test case on all the three test cases on the same browser, and in the end and after test you can close the browser, something like this. It will be helpful. Or in before test, suppose you want to connect to the database before starting the test cases, so you can write the code inside before test to connect to the database and use the connection in the three tests, and then an after test you can close the database connection. So no matter whether the test fails or the test passes or whatever happens, right, before test and after test will surely execute. I'm sorry, my throat is little bad today, so my voice will be different. So if I throw the skip exception over here, and when you run this, you see that even if these three tests are skipping, before test and after test are executed for sure. Okay, right. Similarly, you have got another annotation function at the rate before method. Hold on. You can give this function any name. I'm just writing before method. You can give it any name. Okay, and similarly, we have after method. Now, what do they do? I'll just show you. Right. So when you run this, you see that before method and after method are executed before and after executing each of the test functions. Right. So before test and after test was just once, but before method and after method are executed before and after executing each of the at the rate test annotations. Okay. Right. So look, thing is, suppose when we do we use before method or after method? Suppose there is a okay. Suppose for every test case we have to generate different reports, right? For each test you have to generate a different report. So in before method you can initialize the report, and in after method you can finalize the report for that test case. Okay, I'm just giving you an example. Or each of the test cases, they have to be executed on individual browsers. So in before method, you can initialize the browser. In after method, you can close the browser. There is a predefined order in which these annotations work. It doesn't matter, you can place them anywhere in the file, at the bottom or at the top. They will execute as per that predefined order. Right. I'm right. Anyone with any questions? Anyone? Right. So these are the testng annotations, and this is what we can do. No, we can also parameterize a test case very easily. That is, run a single test with multiple sets of data. Okay, I'll show you. We can, for example, I create a new class known as, say, login test.
Hey Ashish, one question.
Yeah,
So there is no main function you said in this specific
no,
okay, and it still executes without it? Okay.
yes, there is no main function.
Okay.
If
Thank you.
you still execute, there's no main function. So it's a unit testing framework. It is not meant for Selenium. It's a general framework. Testng. We use Selenium with it. Okay, right. Now, suppose I have a test case at the rate test. Okay, login test. Move the mouse over this, add, import the test annotation. Now, suppose if I have to run this test, I have to run it multiple times with different sets of usernames and passwords. I can do that, right? For that, you have to, yeah, Pushpesh, you have any questions, you can ask me. You have keep the data in a two-dimensional array, right? We keep the data in a two-dimensional array. I hope you know what a two-dimensional array is, right? It is something which has certain rows and certain columns. Okay, so we keep the data in a two-dimensional array, right? And each row will represent data for the for one execution, right? So for example, you can keep the username, password, browser, the expected result, and all everything for the first set. Then second set of data you can keep in the second row, that is say username 2, password 2, browser, result. All right, fine. So every cell has an index. This is the 0th row, 0th column. This is 0th row, first column. This is 0th row, second column. So this is how you recognize the cells. This is third row, first column. Third row, second column, 2, 1, like this. Okay. So we keep data in a two-dimensional array. Now understand this carefully, whatever I'm going to do. To run this test with multiple sets of data, we use an annotation known as @data provider. This will provide the data to the test. Okay, this data provider returns you a two-dimensional object array. I'll call this function get data. Fine. Inside this function, I will create an object array named as data, say with 2 columns and 3 rows. So sorry, 2 rows and 3 columns. I told the opposite way. The first parameter is number of rows. Number of rows 2 means that I want to run this test 2 times. And number of column means that number of parameters in each run. So in each run there are 3 parameters and there are 2 rows of data. Right. I can fit in my row number 1. Okay, I can write over here data 0 0 is equal to, say, the browser name Mozilla, right? And so I have to increase the column name over here. I can give some username, some password. So this is my first set of data, right? And then I can put the second set of data as well. Row 2, you can put Chrome, username 2, password 2, right? And return data. So this is the data provider annotation, right? The number of rows decide how many times you want to run the test case, and the number of columns, they decide the number of parameters in every run, right? And you can link, the next step is you have to link this test case with this data provider. So you have to write like this, that the data provider for this test case is equal to the name of this function. Okay. And you can give the input parameter as string user. The first parameter was browser. The second parameter is username. And third parameter is password. The number of input parameters in this function should be equal to number of columns. Okay, if there are 3 columns, then there have to be 3 input parameters. And that's it. Okay, you have to be a little careful in this configuration. Okay, Testng will, when it runs this test, it will automatically understand that the data is coming from this get data function, and it will see that there are 2 rows. That means I have to execute this test 2 times. And in every execution, I will get 3 sets of data. So it will automate when it runs for the first time, it will run it with row 1. It will automatically pass Mozilla over here, username U1 and password P1 into the password, and then the second set of data. So if you run this, you will see that it says 2 sets of data. Total runs are 2. First it runs with this set and then with this set. If you look at the results, right, see that it is running with these 2 sets of data. So Testng will get the data from this data provider. First, it will get the data from here, and then it will get it from here. So generally we keep this data in the Excel file. And from the Excel file, we feed it inside the two-dimensional object array. Okay, right. So this is about Testng. There are few other things as well, which I will tell you when we do the framework, not right now. So next thing is how to build better reports with Testng. And those are extent reports, because the default Testng reports we saw, these are not as effective. These are not good. Okay. They just give you a small overview or something. You cannot, these are not so professional. Fine, so we'll build good reports. We'll put screenshots in them. We will pass or fail the tests. We will log everything. Okay, and that I will tell you tomorrow about extent reports. Okay, today let us only do the testing. All right. In the next class, I will talk about